What's up guys, Bluntguts here. I am doing a Watcher of Realms video for you today, and today we are going to be doing Trial of the Piercers. This one was actually kind of a pain for me. I don't have an AoE Marksman on my, well I should say, I don't have a legendary AoE Marksman on my team, and unfortunately the best epic option, which would be Maul, is not a Piercer. So we were struggling a little bit on this one, if I'm going to be honest with you. So I was able to kind of get it down. I think the gear requirement is relatively high. If you do have more legendaries to substitute for some of these epics that I have in this team, then you are going to be in a better spot and the gear requirements are going to be less. But just to kind of give you a little bit of insight into why I set up this team the way that I did. So we've got Lunaria as the lead. I don't have Aracha. Again, if you have Aracha, it's going to be easier for you. But she is going to be doing some magic damage for me. Hex is going to be filling kind of the same role. We've got Alora, who's going to be pretending to be an AoE marksman for me. Theowen is my AoE marksman, and he also provides some crowd control via his slows. That is super important and does come into play pretty substantially in this run. We've also got Silas, who he's going to be killing the boss, and at least as structured, I don't think that you could do this level without Silas if you're going to be using a team comp like this. If you do have, say, a Nyx or a Razak or potentially even Kai, then I think that you'd have a better time getting this done without Silas. The reason being that because I don't have the ability to really kill the large groups of AoE mobs that come down the upper portal, it is imperative that I get the boss down quickly. I don't have anybody that I can use to block it because I have to stack both Livian and Apsan in the on the upper soul crystal in order to give some extra coverage to prevent those AoE mobs from breaking through. It's kind of further complicated by the fact that those exploding mobs will come through and pop the tank if I don't at least take out a few of them from each of the packs. So Livian needs to be in some pretty decent gear. Apsan needs to be in some pretty decent gear as well. He's not great, but he is going to be doing some work for us here. Other than that, I did have to put a invigoration set on both Nisande and on Lily. Nisande is going to be providing heals. Lily literally just has an invigoration set on just to buff Theowen. Other than that, I'm going to show you the run here. I'm going to show you my strategy. It's probably a little unorthodox. It's not the way that people are typically doing this. However, if you do find yourself in a situation where you don't have a legendary AoE marksman, this is probably your best bet to get this done. So in any case, I will be right back and we will get into it. All right, guys, we are back. Let's get into it. So I'm going to put this on one-time speed because there is so much going on in this stage. I don't even have enough time to talk to you even on one-time speed to give you all the information that I have here. So Hex is, or not Hex, Silas is going to be the first deployment down there. He is going to be killing the boss. Ideally, we're going to get that done in 2 ultimates. It is worth noting that if you do have the ultimate come up before the boss webs Silas, then you are going to want to hold off. You need to wait until the web falls off and then immediately pop his ultimate in order to have enough time to get a full ultimate duration in on the boss. You do need to have the boss down in 1 ultimate at 50% or below. So you really need to kill this the boss in 2 ultimates. I can see my hand is clipping off the screen. I'm not flipping anybody off, I promise. I am going to drop Apsan up here. And I do want to note, I'm just going to slow this down for 1 second. So the reason that I've got both Apsan and Livian up at the top here is because I don't have a solid AoE marksman. I mentioned it before when I was going over the team comp. I'm going to be using Theowen and Alora to take out the small enemies that come in the middle, or at least tick them down a little bit so that by the time they get down to Apsan and Livian, they die relatively quickly. What we need to do here is kind of provide a safety net, and that's why Apsan is there. I theoretically, I could have put somebody else down there to put some extra damage down on those enemies. However, what I found is that there are just so many enemies coming out, these little enemies coming out of these portals, that I would get overrun if I didn't have a second fighter down there. So Apsan is there. Things you could do, you could put a Lunacy Visor on him. You can certainly put an Olog's Wall. I don't know what it's called now. That's what it used to be called, but the Defender Trinket, Defender Artifact, on Livian, and she would be able to block an extra enemy that way. That is kind of crucial. I don't think I've done that in this case. Probably should have, but that is not the way that I've been feeling on this, so I'm not overly concerned about that. So the next thing that we are going to do is drop Theowen up here. We need to get him going early. He is in Soulbound Arcana, and he does have a Sharpshooter's Crest, I believe it's called, so he's getting 30% extra AoE damage from the artifact, and he's going to be stacking up Soulbound Arcana stacks every time he uses his ultimate, so we're going to use that ultimate as much as we can early on, because we're going to need that extra damage later on in the stage. I did drop Hex and Lunaria down here, and this is the other thing that I want to say. If you are doing the strategy this way, the way that I've done it, you do need a little bit of RNG to help you out. So I put Lunaria down here, facing down towards the bottom Soul Crystal. Hex is down there. I'm just going to pop Theowen's ultimate there so we can get that Soulbound Arcana stack going there. So you need Lunaria and Hex to take out this enemy without using Hex's ultimate. The reason being is that the next wave that comes out of this portal where the big guy is going to be 2 of these big guys. Now, I need to be able to use Hex's ultimate to take those out. If I were to use Hex's ultimate to take out this first mob, it's a problem because I won't have time to recharge the ultimate before the next wave comes out. So it would be a wipe at that point. So I mean, maybe you have a way to kind of solve that. I didn't. So what I need is we're gonna pray, please, RNG gods, please. We're gonna pray to them, and hopefully they are going to bless us. And Hex is going to get a bunch of stuns and a bunch of snares, and we're going to be able to kill this enemy with Lunaria and with Hex before it gets to the Soul Crystal and prevents us from getting 3 stars on this. So anyway, I'm going to keep things going here. While we're praying to the RNG gods, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop Lily up at the top to give Theowen Invigoration. So he's got an extra 10% attack now. And then we are going to drop Allura right next to him. And these two, Theowen and Allura, they are going to be the primary damage dealers against these big guys in the middle. You want to pay attention. Now, as soon as this web comes off, I am going to pop Silas's ultimate, and we are going to take out the boss. It looks like RNG. Come on now. One more hit. There we go. Okay, we're good. So now we are going to hopefully kill the boss in the second Silas ultimate. We can also despawn Lunaria because we're going to need her damage in the middle later on. If you like, you can put Brienne there. I don't have very good gear on my Brienne, so she's not going to do all that much. But, something's better than nothing, I suppose. And as soon as the boss dies, which it just did, we're going to despawn Silas as well. So we're going to kind of swap the positioning of where Lunaria was before and where Silas is. So Lunaria is going to be able to help out with those enemies in the these big enemies in the middle that have really high physical resistance. So Lunaria is going to do a lot of damage against them. I am going to pop Hex's ultimate very early. As you can see, the enemies are not close to his range right now. But by popping it early, I'm giving it more time to recharge because there's going to be another set of 2 of these big enemies that comes out of the portal relatively soon afterwards. And it is a little tight getting that ultimate back up before those 2 come. But you'll see I'm going to be able to kill these guys without much of a problem with Hex. That is going to be largely gear dependent, so we will see if you're going to have to see exactly what works for you. So right now we are just kind of playing the waiting game. Hex is going to kill this guy, hopefully with a big shot right here. There we go, and they're down. So that worked out quite well. Lunaria is going to go in Silas's original position right here, and she's going to start ticking away at these. It is important to be kind of timely with your despawns and redeploys because all of this it's a very tight window for all of this stuff. I'm going to pop Brienne's ult. You can see she's hitting for like 1500, so I do not even care if she finishes that ultimate. Silas is going to go down here, but I am going to wait to pop his ultimate until we start to see these other 2 big guys up at the top start to move down towards. God, there's so much going on in this stage. It is just a beast. I feel like I'm stressed out, and I've done this for 2 weeks straight now. I've been doing this. So one thing I don't think I mentioned, when these exploding enemies come out, you do want to wait until they all stop moving. The reason being that I've had it be where if I use Theowen's ultimate before they stop moving, then they end up potentially only like say 3 or 4 of them get hit, and then that's going to end up being a wipe. Now that the other guys are moving, we're going to pop Silas's ultimate. We are going to hope and pray that we can kill these exploding enemies before they get down to, or at least most of them before they get down. And it looks like we have good timing. These big guys are pathing on the bottom. This is where it gets really stressful. So I am going to use some heals there. We are going to hope that Hex does his job. It looks like he's going to be able to. He should have enough time here. And yeah, let's see. Can we get one more ultimate off? No, we missed the ultimate, but it doesn't even matter. There we go. Everybody's alive. I just checked. I'm glad I'm recording. I was a little worried that I had missed that. So yeah, I think this is going to be a victory. There you go, guys. 3 stars. Nobody died. What a pain in the ass this stage is if you don't have an AoE marksman like me. If you do have, say, either a Razak or a Nyx or Kai, all of those are going to be really helpful to you in this spot. You could substitute either Theowen or Allura in those top spots where I had them, and they will be able to get the job done for you. Or hell, if you have a Pelagios, he could probably just kill the entire thing and stuff. He is so amazing. But yeah, guys, whew. I feel like I need a break after that. That was really difficult for me to talk you through everything while I'm trying to do all the placements. There's just a lot of moving parts in that stage, the way that I did it. So I am just gonna take some deep breaths. I'm gonna relax a little bit, and let's take a look at the gearing on here. So one thing I didn't notice, obviously I didn't have Power of Dominance on there. So let's go back in here. We can go through these heroes one by one. One thing I will note, because a lot of my team is epics, and the enemy magic resist and defense is rather high in a lot of instances in this stage. Really progressively, as you get higher in all of these faction trial stages, the enemy defense and magic resist just scales up massively. So because all of these epics have lower base stats than their legendary counterparts, I have primarily opted for attack stacking, and that helps to kind of go over the threshold of that defense and magic resist. So you're going to see a lot of triple attack percent, or at the very least double attack percent, 1 crit damage on all of these heroes. So let's see. So Lunaria, attack, 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 triple attack percent. You can see I've got 3 times her base attack in added attack here. She is in a fracture set. Because we move her around, there is not a huge benefit to having, like, say, Soulbound Arcana on her. And similarly, a lot of her damage comes from this Dark Moon Arrow, I think is what it's called. Yeah, Dark Moon Arrow. And that is not affected by Infernal Roar, so I wasn't using that on her. You could potentially use, you wouldn't want to use Curse. And like I said, Fracture, like I have her, is good. I'm blanking on other gear sets in here right now. Let's see. I mean, I guess you could use Wisdom. That might have helped me out, actually, when I was trying to kill that bottom enemy. But her damage will be reduced outside of that 10-second window after she uses her ultimate. Let's see. What else could we have used here? I mean, Insight, if you need the crit rate, that could work. Doom is going to be a good set. If you've got some good Doom gear, that could certainly help you out. It's all single target damage that she's doing. So anything that boosts single target damage is going to be fine. Glacier, I think, is a busted set that you shouldn't use, so I wouldn't recommend that. I think probably Night Terror is actually probably the best option here, assuming that you are crit capped, which you should be if you were trying to attempt Faction Trials 12 of any stage. So that would be my recommendation on Lunaria. Moving on to Hex. I forgot to, let's see, where's Lunaria? I forgot to show the artifact. Lunaria does have a rank 25 Idril's Gaze on. That is doing a lot of work. I think a lower iteration of Idril's Gaze, even a level 10 one, is fine. The interesting thing about Idril's Gaze is that until you get to the final rank, all you're really increasing is the chance that you are going to be able to get the ignore magic resistant defense on there. So especially if you have a relatively fast hero or a hero that attacks a lot, which Lunaria does, then you should be okay using a lower version of this, and the benefits should be largely the same. It really shouldn't shouldn't matter all that much. Anyway, back to Hex. You can see he does have a rank 13 Spirit Siphon on. That is helping him out. All of his damage is single target. So this is really the best, probably the best option for him, unless you have his exclusive, which is incredible as well. That is going to be a solid option too, a better option, I should say. As far as gearing, I do have him in Soulbound Arcana, so he is going to be doing more damage over time. I don't think this is particularly important, truth be told. You're only popping his ultimate twice in the fight, so I'm really only getting 20% extra damage, and really that 20% is only on the last two big enemies that come out of that bottom portal that I'm benefiting from. It does help, but I don't think it's essential. You could just as easily have him in one of those sets that I was just talking about. That would work as well. I did stack a bit of attack on him. He does have a little under 16,000, so a little over 15,000 attack. Crit damage is about 300. Obviously, he's crit capped, and his speed is relatively high at 380. Rage regen, that's coincidental. I didn't try and do that, but any rage regen is always going to help you. If you can get that without sacrificing other stats, I would certainly recommend that you do so. Let's take a look at Allura. Allura, all of her damage is basic attack or increased damage of the basic attack, so Infernal Roar is an ideal set for her. You theoretically could have used Soulbound Arcana as well. I think I popped her ultimate twice, so kind of similar to Hex, you're not going to get the full benefits. So I do think that if you have the Infernal Roar to spare, this is the way to go about it. This is arguably probably my worst Infernal Roar set. I've got a crit rate bangle on her. I do have double attack percent on the other pieces, and there's actually no crit over here, which is why that crit rate bangle is on there. So good speed, great attack. Other than that, crit damage is nothing, to write home about. It's at 288% or 83%. That is decent, but not amazing by any means. But she just needs to be able to hit relatively hard to help whittle down some of those center mobs. As far as her artifact, I have her in a rank 25 Idril's Gaze as well. But the same thing that I was saying about the Idril's Gaze on Lunaria applies as well. I don't think that you necessarily need one at max rank for this to work. Theowin, this is where you really do need some good gear on Theowin. And you do need to, in my experience anyway, you're going to need to stack triple attack percent pieces on the right side in order for this to work. I probably, in truth, what I end up doing, I swap gear around a lot. So this is actually, I think, he doesn't have the triple attack percent on, but originally this gear was on my my Valeria, and so this crit damage gear is used in Guild Boss, where crit damage is the best. But in this instance, I probably would have been better served with either a Calamity set or a Warlord set to get that extra attack percent on there. I was able to do it anyway, but if you can't quite get these stats or your gear isn't quite this good, then these are the little things that you can do to kind of min-max the stage and put yourself in a better spot to maybe be able to get it down. You can see his attack speed is relatively high at 455, it looks like. What else? Attack is just a little bit under 3 times what his base attack is. That is probably, I would say you probably would be better served by having it at or above plus 9,000 on that. What else? Artifact, I mentioned it before, he does have a rank 25 Sharpshooter's Crest. The higher you can get that, the better it's going to be for him, because it is a near thing. I had plenty of wipes where if I didn't time everything really well, I wouldn't be able to get it down. So it's going to be timing, but it's also going to be gearing in order to get this stage if you do have to min-max and you don't have the ideal champion comp like I don't. So that is something to keep in mind. Silas, big boy Silas. So he does have a rank 25 Spirit Siphon. That is pretty important in my experience. You could play around with gear on here. He is going to need Infernal Roar. He is going to need a good amount of crit damage and a good amount of attack. You're going to have to play around with this gearing, but the nice thing is that you're going to be using that first ultimate relatively early on in the fight, so you can kind of play test a bunch of different gear sets if you need to try and find one that is going to be able to get the boss's health down below 50%, so that when you do kind of move further forward in the stage, you'll know that you're going to be able to get that boss down in 2 Silas ultimates. That is really important, to be able to move Silas over and to move Lunaria into the spot that Silas originally was in. It's important to be able to do that because you do need to min-max that damage on the center, And yeah, in any case, that is the Silas gearing. I went over the artifact already. So let's take a look at Apsan. Apsan is in Soulbound Arcana. This is really important as well because there's going to be more and more damage that he needs to do as time goes on there, and it becomes more and more hectic. So because he has a relatively low ultimate cost, it's only 450, he's going to be able to get to max Soulbound Arcana stacks by the end. So I am very confident that Soulbound Arcana is the best set for him in this case. I didn't have an artifact on him. Whoops. I think if you... Let's see, I mean, you could potentially use one of these Eyes of Sin. I'm not 100% sure that this works on his damage. I don't know. You could certainly use a Wailing Skull, but that is more single target damage, so not ideal. I think Lunacy Visor might be your best bet if you're struggling to kill things in time. You could also use a Realm Tear in order to get some extra damage on enemies that are further away. Maybe that's the ideal artifact. In fact, I would guess that is the case. So this is probably, from a damage perspective, this is probably your best bet. If you're having trouble and you need some extra block, then a Lunacy Visor is probably going to be your best bet. But yeah, let's take a look at his gear again. I can show you this gear typically sits on my Twin Fiend in Guild Boss. Again, I oftentimes I have my best gear on all of my Guild Boss heroes. So whenever I'm doing challenging content, what I do is I just go to gear swap and I switch it over. I just pick the gear sets that I have that I know are good, and I move it all over. And if I need to iterate on that a little bit more, I will. I don't think I did in this case. Maybe I put one more attack percent. Yeah, I think I normally have 2 crit damage in here. But you can see he's got double attack percent, 1 crit damage percent on the right side. He still does have this crit damage gear, which is an artifact from the Guild Boss gearing. So for whatever that's worth. Let's see. Livian just needs to be in tanky gear. She is really, really good, and I don't have an artifact on her as well. I should have had an Olog's Wall on air. What is it called? It's not Olog's Wall. I should have had a Bastion Ring on her. As you can see, that increases your block by 1. That is an excellent option. Gearing-wise, you know, I feel like there's nothing that really hits all that hard in there. This is more about how much block you can bring than it is about taking the damage. I was never really in a spot where she was taking too much damage unless I had those exploding enemies popping on top of her. And in that case, that's when I would be popping Nasande's ultimate, as I think I mentioned when we were going through it. That just gives a little bit extra buffer, but Livian is kind of a beast. I didn't realize how good she was until I started doing this stage. You can see she's got about 86k HP, 7k defense, and I never really struggled with her taking too much damage in this outside of the exploding enemies, like I said. So that is something to keep in mind. Brienne, I have bad gear on her. She's in there for about 10 seconds, and I just didn't take the time to gear her. She's never really in a spot where she's doing, where what she's doing needs to be more damage. She's just kind of filler, if I'm being completely honest with you. Kind of like Lily. Lily's just an invigoration set. I think I skipped Nasande. Take a look at her gearing. It's just pretty standard healer gear. This is actually my Elowen's gear. I just swapped it onto her. So she's got just a little bit under 400 speed, you know, plus 168 healing effect. That is nice, but it does kind of get diminishing returns after 100. So that's something to keep in mind. Solid attack, about a little less than double her base attack in plus attack. And artifact, I just have her in Atia's Bomb. Her main, she's going to put out enough healing to be able to keep your tanks up. The main thing with her is getting her in an invigoration set with somewhat decent stats so that she can heal, but she's also going to be able to buff Silas. That would be how I would approach gearing Nasande. And finally, we have got Lily here at her whopping 11.5k battle power. Yep, I know. I was intimidated too when I first saw it. Yeah, you can see no left side pieces. Only one piece that's at 16 on here. We just need her to provide that invigoration buff to Theowen so that we can maximize his kind of poor AoE damage and be able to get those center enemies down. So yeah, that's it, guys. Let me see. I'm going to put Power of Dominance on, and while I've got this set up, I'm going to do one more here. And we can just take a look at it in high speed so that you guys can get one more look at how this works. Hopefully it's going to work. It should be okay because the power of dominance should negate the RNG that you need to kind of get this to work originally anyway. So we will see, but I'm pretty confident this is going to be okay. Fingers crossed. I'd like to be done and be able to put my gear back on my on the heroes that it belongs on. So let's hope that this gets done. Let's see. Are we going to get the RNG there? Up. Clutch stun at the end. Hex, that's why you're one of my favorite heroes. You can see with some more AoE damage, which I think that, honestly, this may look a little bit more like what it would be like if we had a Nyx or a Razak or a Pelagios or something like that. You can see these enemies in the middle. They don't cause that much of a threat because, oh, we almost lost that one there. It's just, we're just not doing quite enough damage to make this kind of easy mode when we don't have Power of Dominance on. So, I can't believe that I still don't have a legit AoE Legendary Marksman. I'm missing, I think, 7 heroes from the base pool of heroes right now, and 3 of them are AoE Marksman. But that's just RNG for you. There you go, guys. We got it. I appreciate you watching. I hope this is helpful for you. If you do have any questions about the comp, or if you have a slightly different setup that you're trying to make work and you want some advice, you're more than welcome to ask in the comments. Or please, if you have any requests for content that you'd like to see in the future, you're more than welcome to ask in the comments. I do try to reply to everything. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. It really means a lot to me if you do, and it's going to kind of give me the motivation to continue creating this content. In any case, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day, and good luck.